You can't beat a great burger. And we are now at the point where vegan burgers are just as good in taste, texture, and smell as a meat-based burger.
Which one's real meat? I think it was egg. It's gotta be beef.
None of them were real. But just like regular meat burgers, there is always room to improve them. Make them even juicier, even more flavorful. I've done a lot of testing in the past with making plant-based burgers better. Recently, I used fermented things to make the burgers more meaty. That test, along with this test, are both inspired by a meat guru, Guga Foods. If you know Guga, he tests just about everything you can imagine with making steaks and burgers taste and cook better. And a lot of those tests also work really well with plant-based meats, veggie, and our fungi friends. Today, we're going to make what Guga calls the heart attack on a bun, or as he said, the extreme juiciness burger that is dry proof. Now, one of the problems with the Beyond Burger or Impossible Burger is that sometimes when it's grilled or pan fried, it dries out. This test should change that. So let's do it. So the first thing we want to do is grab your favorite vegan butter. Mine is Mayoko's. It's one of the best. It's a cashew-based butter. It's fermented or cultured. It has a really great flavor. Now, you want to make this soft, so I had kind of almost room temperature, and then I just used a whisk to kind of break it apart. Here, we're going to be using some dried Italian parsley and garlic, minced up garlic. You can use garlic paste or minced garlic. And then we're just going to use the whisk to kind of mash it up together again. Now, at this point, I realized I needed a lot more parsley and a little bit more garlic, so we did that again. And then we needed more parsley and more garlic, so we did it one more time. Now, at this point in the video, I'm actually done, but I meant to actually add about a quarter cup of nutritional yeast. I wanted to make it more savory. So I didn't have any cookie cutters like Guga did, so I found the closest circle empty thing that I can find, and I cut out my own little cookie cutter in plastic, you know, recycle. So now we're gonna make our butter pucks with our new little cookie cutter. We're just gonna take some parchment paper, Lines baking sheet, and stuff the butter into our little cookie cutter. Now, Guga created these little circle parchment paper discs, which I wish I would have done because I think it would have been a heck of a lot easier and came out even better. I just went ahead and used the parchment paper to kind of help push it down in and then, you know, kind of generally make a mess with butter and get my hands all buttery. Get as best of a little puck as I could possibly get. Again, they didn't come out that great, but it doesn't really matter. They're gonna melt into the burger. So at this point, we just need to throw these little pucks into the freezer. They only need to be in the freezer long enough for them to firm up solid. So at this point, I thought, heck, what goes really great with a really juicy vegan burger? Caramelized onions. So let's just go ahead and cut off the top and the root of the onion and then chop it in half, you know, from stem to top. Now, all we're gonna do is just generally cut slices all the way around the onion and then repeat. We're gonna get a lot of slices of onions. Now we just need to heat up a large skillet on a stove over a very low heat. I mean, pretty low. I have an electric stove and low is not low enough. At this point, I'm gonna throw in the remaining seasoned butter that I made, and we're just gonna melt that down before we throw in our onions. Once we throw in the onions, we're just gonna want to toss them in there, generally toss them in the butter, but then let them sit for like 30 minutes before you do anything. After they've sat for a little while, go ahead and give them a stir up, and then we're gonna add a pinch of salt. We don't need a whole lot of salt because there's salt in the butter. Give them another little stir again and let them sit. These are gonna sit for a good portion of the day. Once they've started to brown up, you can toss in some sugar into them, and then we're just gonna put them on the absolute lowest heat possible and let them caramelize up. They're gonna, like Ramsay would say in the last video that I did, we're melting the onions. So at this point, we're gonna move on to the second part of our test, which is gonna start with a base of coconut oil. Now, I want to melt the coconut oil. We need about a half of a cup of coconut oil. So we're just gonna throw this in the microwave, set the microwave for about 30 seconds. You don't need a whole lot more. Hit start and go, and then just get that coconut oil melted. It's not that hard. I don't know why I had to explain that. So for this part of the test, I thought maybe that we could bring in something that we learned in the past video, which was using the fermented things to make things taste meatier. I wanted to see if we can trick my friends into believing that one of them was a real burger. So we used the coconut oil, kimchi juice, along with some red miso paste and mushroom seasoning. Mushroom seasoning is one of my favorite seasonings. It's kind of like a natural MSG, but it's not really super natural. Anyways, but it's a great seasoning. I use it on everything. So I'm also going to be using a little bit of black vinegar. Black vinegar tastes like vinegar that has like a meaty taste to it, almost like vinegar A1 sauce. It's really good. Try it out if you haven't tried it. And I'm also going to be using some soy lecithin. I wanted this to emulsify up to create kind of more of a real burger juice, you know, have that mouthfeel. And the way to do that was going to be with some soy lecithin. So at this point, all we're going to do is just put together my stick blender, and we're going to blend this up together and just make sure that it all is emulsified. No air bubbles or anything, just kind of the oil and liquids all mixed together. Now we're going to treat this the same way that we treated our butter pucks, and we're going to just fill this into a large container and throw it in the freezer to firm up. Once this is all done, I'm just gonna kind of like break it up and use it to throw in the burgers to create that juicy mouthfeel. Hey gang, real quick, don't click away. You're gonna wanna check out today's sponsor, Endel. Endel is an environment-based, nonprofit app that takes everything we know about sound and combines it with cutting-edge technology. When I first heard about the app, I was really excited to try it out for a few reasons. First, I love science. Second, anything that's gonna help me calm down, de-stress, and you need the best, get better sleep, I'm going to love. I definitely need to try things like that out, and that's why I tried this out, and I'm so glad I did. Endel is informed by science, created with science, and backed by science. I love that. The core behind Endel tech is that it adapts in real time to personal inputs like location, weather, and heart rate. It complements your circadian rhythm to calm your mind, create feelings of comfort and safety, and can soothe you into a deep sleep with soft, gentle sounds. Now, it's not just about sleep. Endel has a focus mode that plays sounds that help boost your productivity by helping you concentrate for longer periods of time. And I can speak to both of those. Monica and I have been using Endel for the last month, 2 months now to fall asleep faster and sleep better. I don't think we've been sleeping this good in years. And when I have it running during the workday, I feel more focused and more productive. And now prepare for wind down with the soothing sounds of James Blake. Wind down is designed to support a healthy routine before your bed. Simply set your bedtime and let Endel put your body and mind in a state of rest with James Blake, powered by science. So gang, like I said, you're gonna wanna try this one. Click the link in the description below. The first 100 people to download Endel will get a free week of audio experiences. You're going to love this. I know you will. I love it. It's an amazing app. Endel, thanks for sponsoring today's video. And thanks for helping me be more productive, get better sleep, fall asleep faster. I mean, how cool is this? It's science. Okay, so now let's get back to making our burger. Now, at this point, all of our butter patties have frozen and this little coconut oil puck thing has frozen. Now, originally I was gonna cut this into the same size circles. I was gonna use my little cookie cutter thing that I made and try to press them out. But then I realized once I just pressed into this, it just cracked and kind of started falling apart. So at that point, I just kind of just cracked pieces that were generally about the size of the cookie cutter and just kind of broke them up into these small pieces. It's all gonna work. See, these are gonna go inside the burger. It doesn't really matter if they're perfect or not. So after that point, I just collected everything up and threw it back in the freezer. So now we're at the point where we're gonna mess with our burgers. We're gonna be using Impossible meat. It's one of my favorites and it's just as close to real meat as you can get. For this video, I wanna make these burgers about a 1/2 inch thick. So we're gonna be doing 2 1/4 inch thick patties to put the little pucks inside of. To do 1/4 inch, I just got 1/4 inch dowel rods, a piece of parchment paper, and then we're just gonna throw the meat right in between the dowel rods, press it down using some parchment paper, and then I'm gonna use just an extra cutting board. You can use a rolling pin, whatever you want, and just press it down flat to that 1/4 inch thickness. And then boom, voila, there you go. Look at this. That is a super perfect piece of 1/4 inch thin Impossible meat. Now I have a 3.5 inch ring mold. That's gonna be the size of the burgers. I'm just gonna cut out as many 3.5 inch Impossible patties as I can, and then just gather up all of the extra Impossible meat to flatten out and use for the next burgers. We're just gonna keep on repeating this process until we have all of the burgers that we need. Now at first I'm just gonna use the regular butter pucks. All we're gonna do is take one patty, put a butter puck in the middle, kind of press it down in, and then put another patty carefully on top, press the seals around, and then push that to the side. Now all we have to do is just repeat that process, and then repeat that process again for the savory pucks. I'm gonna throw these all in the refrigerator until it's ready to go. Now, before we throw this in the fridge, I want to make sure that I season them up. I'm going to be using a little bit of my burger seasoning that I made in my the Big Mac video that I did. So this burger seasoning is just a little bit of salt, pepper, a little bit of MSG, tiny bit of garlic powder, and that's all we need. Throw those in the fridge. They're going to be great. Now, at this point, I want to make a burger sauce. Burger sauces are super simple. We're just going to do equal parts of vegan mayo, sweet relish, and ketchup. Just mix that up, and then you're going to have yourself one heck of a SauceStache. Now, at this point, you might have been thinking, what the heck happened to the onions? Don't worry, I didn't forget. They're done. They're done. Scoop them up, set them aside, and wait until it's their turn to top the burgers and make them taste better. Speaking of the burgers, it's time to cook them up. So throw a pan on the stove, set it to about a medium heat. On my stove, that's a medium heat. Toss your burgers in and cook them on both sides. It takes about 3-4 minutes on each side of the Impossible burger. You will see these things are sizzling like crazy. These are the juiciest Impossible burgers I've ever seen. Once you flip them over twice, flip them over back to the original side, and we're gonna add some vegan American cheese. I love this American cheese. Toss it on, toss a little bit of water in the pan, and then cover it up. Let that cheese steam for just a moment. That's all it takes. Once you uncover it, you're gonna see this cheese is gooey melty. Now we just need to top our burgers. We're gonna do bun with a little bit of the burger sauce, the patty with the cheese on top, some of those caramelized onions, and then bun, and we just need to wrap them up in parchment paper. Remember, I'm taking these to go. I mean, these things just, they really came out amazing. Now, before I take these to go, I do want to get Monica in just to hear really quick what she has to say.
Cheers.
Interesting. Yeah, it's really good. I love the burst of flavor.
What's one thing that you've noticed that's different about these burgers? Maybe not the flavor, you already said that. That makes these better.
They're juicier.
These are juicier than regular Impossible Burgers.
Yeah, way juicier.
Wild. Super wild. So now at this point, I just ran them over to my friend's house. Now they did sit for, the drive, the 30-40 minute drive. I should have had them come over to my place, but it didn't work out. So I made sure that each one of my buddies got a half of each one of the burgers. So they each got the savory burger and the butter burger. So they just tried the butter burger. Let's see what they have to say.
I like what's on top.
Okay,
that mushroom taste. Yeah, the mushrooms and onions on top are amazing.
Well, Eris and Ray, there's no mushrooms in this. So now let's see what they have to say about the second burger.
Yeah, it's definitely juicier than I expected it to be, looking at the texture.
Now, I wanted to see if they would think that either one of these were real. So I just kind of threw the question out there.
Beef was definitely juicier for me. I don't know about you guys.
Which one's real meat?
I think it was A. Gotta be beef. Gotta be beef.
I think A's the real meat.
Now, I think right there, that says something. 4 meat eaters all couldn't agree which out of 2 Impossible Burgers was the real burger. That really says something. And the Guga Heart Attack Experiment Burger worked out. We made a better, juicier vegan burger. Thanks, Guga.